Okay, let's have 2 minutes of a free class. This is absolutely free for anyone who's come a little bit early. 2 minutes of free yoga. Bend your legs, place your soles of the feet on the floor. Scoot the buttocks under, let the lower back relax. Observe. So we've got the legs bent, soles of the feet on the floor. We've scooted the buttocks under to lengthen muscles like the quadratus lumborum, etc. And we're observing the relationship between the body and the breath. Again, good morning to the Zoomers. More of you coming in now because I thought it was morning. Nice to see you. Yeah. Now, releasing the lower back is super important for several reasons. Number one reason is because the lower back and the breath are highly connected, simply because the psoas muscle connects to the sides of the lower spine, and the psoas muscle has fibers that interconnect with the diaphragm. Morning. Yeah, I think that one might be taken, but you could grab one from there and just put it here. So there's a connection between the breath and the lower back. There's also a connection between the lower back and the breath in another way, in a skeletal way. And that is to say, again, through the connection that the psoas has with the sides of the lower spine, if there's tension in the psoas, and it will always be connected to the breath because everything is everything, that's the basic yoga philosophy. If there's tension there, then that will inhibit the movement of the rib cage and therefore also the breath. When the breath moves, it frees the diaphragm. When the breath moves, it frees the intercostal muscles between the ribs. When the breath moves, it challenges our habituations, our mental, emotional, physical, respiratory habituations, to the point where it can feel, well, challenging. But eventually that challenge, if you don't back down, as it were, culminates in a spaciousness of the mind, an expansion of the mind. So for all these reasons, laying on the back, being patient, Sanskrit word kshanti, being patient, observing the correlation between your breath and the lower back, and any habits like impatience. Many of you, I'm sure, are very patient people, but many of us are conditioned to be impatient. Hi, welcome. You can grab a mat from there and just put it here. Yeah, it's in the cupboard there. Yeah. Anyway, that was the free bit of the class. Now we're coming to the paid part. So we're going to give our legs a hug. That's very simple, isn't it? Similar reasons. There are lots of reasons, but the fundamental reason is flow, vahi. Actually, if you turn it 90 degrees around, no, 90 degrees around. Yes, that way, exactly. Thank you. So as you hug your legs and roll left and right, it helps to hydrate. That means bring more fluidity into the myofascia, which is what clever people like to say instead of muscle fascia. Of the lower back, middle back, and so on. And more fluidity means flow on the level of what the nerves feel, flow on the level of the blood, flow on the level of the lymph. And all of that culminates in a more expanded mind state. A more expanded mind state. So yoga is meditation. Even Apple knows that. If you've got an Apple phone and you put yoga in and you want an emoji, it's not someone in Trikonasana. It's someone in meditation. Very good, Apple. Well done. Well, we know why that is. Probably because Steve Jobs was right into all that malarkey, wasn't he? Autobiography of a yogi and all that. And lots of LSD. So you're rolling around. So when you roll, you're looking for release. Huh? So the way you roll should be natural. We use the Sanskrit word sahaja, which means natural. It also means spontaneous. So just rolling this way and that way. Sometimes you'll pause because you find what I call a juicy bit, a moment that's so rich and lovely, you just get eaten by it. Now, if you're like me, you might be a self-declared roller, someone who just loves a roll. Any kind of roll, maybe you like a cheese roll or a vegan alternative. But also you like a roll on your back. So you can carry on rolling if you want. Because there's plenty of release. Many of the yoga texts tell us select one pose for your practice, one pose, not 72. Other numbers are available. Okay, so if you're ready to release the legs, go ahead and do so. Place the feet on the floor. And then I would like to hear you, as much as I can with my deaf ear, take a deep breath in and deep breath out. And then let another happen. So letting the breath happen, super important. Letting the breath happen, super important. Sorry, nearly got me. It's a good try. Letting the breath happen, super important. That's what makes a yogin a yogin. Somebody who knows the connection directly through the expressed experience between body, brain, and breath, here and now. Not as an idea, but as an experience that they're expressing here and now. Right? Body, brain, and breath and universe are one. I think maybe that's free. Yeah, I think so. Now I think we've got everyone in now. So this is the third stage. We had the free part of the class, then we had the first part of the paid part of the class, and now this is all the gang together part of the class. Roll over and face towards this side of the room. S'il vous plaît, which of course is French for roll over immediately. Bend the leg you're laying on. That's one of my jokes. If you've not heard them before, you'll hear them again and again and again. Bend the leg that you're laying on to 90 degrees between your tummy and your thigh, and between your calf and your thigh as well. 2 sets, 90 degrees. Those of you who've come in recently, just to explain, I am deaf due to a diving incident in my left ear. So tell me if I'm too loud or too quiet. Okay, extend the inner groin, which is a meditation. I've already explained how on Apple phones anyway, the emoji for yoga is a meditator. We'll talk about what that means here and now, but it basically means absorption. So play in ways that feel absorbing. In Hatha Yoga texts, it's called layanam. Now, how do you know you're absorbed? Your breath will tell you, because when you're absorbed, you begin to let go, because what you're absorbed in is what you need to know. And when you know what you need to know, you relax and the breath opens up. So lift and land your leg, play with it. Don't think too much about it. Your thinking processes know nothing. Sorry. So, you know, what thinking processes know a bit of the truth. They never know that, they cannot know the truth. They can know bits of it. In Jainism, it's called anakantavada, not one thing. That's what it means. So lifting and landing, we're obviously stretching the psoas. Suck in the tummy when you've landed, as much as you can, as much as the post-mince pies tummy can. Suck in, and then lift up, turn, elbows, forearms, and wrists on the floor. And breathe. So this is called Chayana Marichasana. And play with it. So you might move left, you might move right, you might move forwards, you might move backwards. The purpose isn't to conform to what we might perceive the teacher wants us to do. That's not the purpose. The purpose isn't to look a certain way. The purpose isn't to get more likes on social media. The purpose is to disappear into the field, Sanskrit word kstram. The field is the interdependent field of everything. Everything's in a field that's interdependent with everything else. Disappearing into it isn't a thought, isn't grasping. It's playing, breathing, letting go, giving. So play, breathe, let go, give, experiment. So we get to the field through the particle. The particle are the sensations you're experiencing, so study them, absorb into them, and they will deliver you through like a portal. And deliver you through to this direct experience. Pratyeksha, direct experience of the field, which feels subjectively like satisfaction, absorption. Okay, top leg on top of the bottom leg. Just roll up or curl up from the side. Use your hands to help you. And with care, bring your feet to the other end. You're still going to face this side of the room, partly because it keeps us all together, and partly because then you can look at that lovely picture up there, which is absolutely bloody lovely, isn't it? Okay, so bend the leg. Make sure you've got those two sets of 90 degrees between the calf and thigh and the thigh and tummy. Two sets of 90. And then we're going to feel into the psoas. And if you've got a cup of barley cup, don't knock it over. I don't think anyone else has, but I do. Okay, that's my breakfast. So psoas extends from the top of the inner thigh across the lateral pubis into the sides of the lower spine. So that's the muscle area you're feeling into. Deep belly, across the groin. But muscles are mind. And that's no longer just what hippies think. Now doctors think it too. And, scientists. Mind and body are one. So, don't just think it, be that knowledge. Or see that knowledge. See that mind and body are one. You don't have to be told if you can feel it directly. Like if you're standing in the rain, you don't have to be told that the rain is wet. You feel it. So in other words, when you're stretching your psoas, know that your attitude will affect whether or not the psoas softens and therefore is able to lengthen, or whether there's a sort of grasping that's making the body tense. So we want to avoid, without being adverse, what I call the three grs: gripping, grasping, grabbing. Once you've got that leg down and you got into that psoas feeling, tummy draws in, you push down, you lift, you turn. Elbows, forearms and wrists on the floor. Elbows a little forwards of the shoulders. Meditate, aka absorb. Here's a confession. For about the first 12 years of my meditation practice, I didn't really know what I was doing, but I did it for hours and hours a day. But I didn't know what it was. I thought, you've got to follow the breath, for example. And if you don't follow the breath, you're not meditating. So I was constantly failing, but I was quite determined, so I kept failing happily. But if I'd known meditation is absorption, and specifically absorption of the sense of separation into a sense of the interdependent experience, I would have realized that smelling a flower is a meditation. That having a kiss on the cheek from someone you like is a meditation. And that moving in this pose, Shayana Madhichasana, if you're getting into it, if your breath is expressing that you're getting into it, if you're disappearing and reappearing as this sort of dance, intuitive, supersensual dance, that's all you need. Top leg on top of the bottom leg, curl up from the side. Now, I don't know if everyone's got a block. If you're at home, if you haven't got a block, you can use books if you haven't. But if you've got blocks here, if you haven't got blocks, they're over at the back. We're going to sit on a block with the legs extended out. I'll bring some blocks around next so that you don't all have to. I'll bring some blocks to you. So sit on a block or two blocks if you know you're a little stiffer. or tighter with your legs extending out towards the front of the room. There's two in case you need them. Anyone else need blocks who hasn't got blocks? I'm going to give you a bigger block because I like that little skinny one, but I think that's better. Anyone else? Good. Okay. Once your legs are extended, then bring them over to the side of your body. So face this way, all face this way, except at home you can face any way you like. You can do anything you like because you're at home. Don't smoke during yoga though. Legs over to one side, to this side. Go ahead. Legs over this way. That's it. So all it is here to here. And the shin here comes into the foot arch here, right? Like that. If it's tight for you to sit on 2 blocks, you know, or 3. This leg doesn't want to raise up. I'll just show you how to do the pose wrong. Wrong. No, I'll show you right. Right. Okay, so this doesn't raise up. So that's wrong. That's right. Okay, so inhale, lift up. And turn. Don't lift that leg. You lift your torso. So focus on your breath. Soften your eyes as if you just saw someone you loved. And maybe if you don't love anyone, as if you saw perhaps an animal you love, like a little squirrel eating a nut. It's lovable, isn't it? So soft eyes. Why? Because bhavana, attitude, is super important and it's part of the tantric path, and tantra is fundamental to the development of what we now call yoga. So let the buttocks relax. Notice if there's any gripping in the buttocks, just let them relax. Gripping in the buttocks normally indicates some sort of anticipation of something that you're not sure about. Of course, anticipation is a form of reaching out, upadana. And reaching out is reaching out of the very thing you need to know, which is this. This isn't an idea, this is beyond ideas. Like a kiss is beyond ideas, or the smell of a rose is beyond ideas. Or the soft sun on your face is beyond ideas. Good. Turn back to center. Extend your legs back out. Give yourself an energy bath. So that's a vigorous rub down everywhere, right? If you were having a proper bath, presumably you'd bath everywhere. We wouldn't forget the armpits. Do the armpit, do the face, behind the ears. That seems to be a thing that people used to say on films, like about kids, Victorian kids, scrub behind your ears. So everything you can. I won't do my chest because of my microphone. Legs then over to the other side. So that's part of a practice called Trulkur. We might look at that later. Legs over to the other side. Again, this area here, in this area here. Sorry if that was loud slapping, I can't tell. Okay. And lifting and landing. So just adjusting the various alignments of the myofascia. Myo just means muscle. Fascia is a term that generally talks about general forms of connective tissue. There's myofascia, there's visceral fascia, and can't remember the name of that one, superficial fascia. Inhale, lift and turn. Don't lift the leg, remember? That stays down, the back leg. And usually it lifts up when we're anticipating. And in a yoga class, we might be anticipating what we might think, what does the teacher want from me? Huh? What am I supposed to do? Because I don't want to be isolated. I don't want the teacher to come around and say, that's wrong. No one wants to be wrong. No one wants to be publicly shamed. So we have that anticipation. But don't worry, I'm not going to publicly shame anyone. But breathe into it. The only thing I will say, Norma, is take your knees further apart and bring that foot, the back foot, so it's in the arch of the other foot. So that leg, no, the other way. Yes, that's it. Beautiful. Don't worry. You've invented a new pose. Breathe easy to yourself. So relax the buttocks. Just notice, tension in the buttocks normally means, again, some sort of anticipation. Or should I say anticipation? Sorry, that was from Rocky Horror. Okay, return to center calmly. Good job. Coming out of that posture and coming onto your hands and knees. And just checking that your hands are equidistant from the sides of the mat. And imagine that someone was going to come, walk around the room, or even come to your home, magically appear at your home, and check that your hands were precisely equidistant from the sides of the mat. Imagine that was going to happen, because that's going to happen. So just double check. Exactly. Are they exactly? I think that one seems to be a little bit further over this way. You see, it's very precise. It's very uptight. This is an uptight form of yoga. Good. Spread your fingers out as well. Spread them wide. Good. And then having done that, lift your bum up. Lift your bum up in the air. Up you go. Straight up with the bum. That's it. Up in the air. Good. Now look back at your feet and check that they are equidistant, that the left foot is the same distance from the side of the mat as the right foot. It doesn't actually matter. Well, it sort of does, but it sort of doesn't. How far the feet are from the edge of the mat, as long as they're the same as each other. Now, to qualify that, I say it doesn't actually matter. It sort of does, because sometimes people feel there's more space for them to flow and breathe if they take their feet wider, for example. You can even take your feet, if you want, as wide as the mat is wide. There's literally no yoga books before, 60 years ago that tell you how wide your feet should be in dog pose. Literally none throughout the whole history of yoga. In fact, there are literally no yoga books that tell you to practice dog pose at all, apart from books that were written in the last 60 to 80 years. They do tell you to practice gajasana, elephant pose, which is a bit like this as well. So you can bend your knees, you can move your pelvis left and right, you can play. And the purpose of the play, as we've been feeling throughout the class, is absorption. Absorption of the particle back into the whole. Particle physicists will tell you that's just the way it is. Electrons' true identity is as part of the electron field. There's no such thing as a separate electron, really. Good job. Okay, coming down to hands and knees, and from there to kneeling. But some of us will need to put a block or two between the heels and buttocks like that if your knees are tight. If your ankles or feet are tight, a rolled up blanket. Either way, with or without the blocks or rolled up blankets, sitting up tall. This pose is called Vajrasana, Vajra. For those of you in the room in real life, if you look up at the ceiling, you'll see a Vishva Vajra. Now that is a crossed Vajra, although the word Vishva doesn't mean crossed. That represents the whole of the universe, a Vishva Vajra. So we're in Vajrasana. The Vajrasana is also the name of the spot that the Buddha sat in what is now called Bodh Gaya, when he gained what some people call in enlightenment, which is probably better to call it awakening. Anyway, the point is, the Vajrasana, the seat where you can gain enlightenment, which is supposed to be the exact center of the universe, is wherever you are, including here, right now. That you're sitting, where you're sitting, is the Vajrasana. Vajra means several things, including thunderbolt, because it intimates an immediate waking up. Like the way when lightning strikes, everything's lit up super clear for a second. The way things are is always super clear, apart from when we superimpose on top of it thoughts, ideas, and views. So take deep breaths, roll on the shins if you want. There are muscles there that benefit from you rolling, if you find it beneficial. The anterior tibialis, for example. The calf muscles also benefit. We know that movement of muscles hydrates the muscles. We know that hydration is flow. People into fascia anatomy call it glide. So just one pose is enough for a great yogin to use as a portal to the field. The field is all we need to contact for spontaneous liberation. Okay, much as that's true, and as sophisticated as I can tell you are as practitioners, we'll come forwards and bring our hands onto the floor. And we'll stretch one leg back at a time, just stretching through the leg intuitively, breathing into it. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Breathing into it. So you might move backwards, forwards. We're trying to evoke sensations that are meditative. And meditation, remember, shows up as your breath opening up because there's a relief. When you know what you need to know, you feel relief. Okay, let's do the same with the other leg. It's pretty simple at this point. Excuse me. So, backwards, forwards, side to side, whatever is necessary. Tiny bit of sad news, you know it already. Probably Terry Hall died not long ago. Sad news. Terry Hall from the Specials. If you don't know the Specials, time to go back in time and check them out. And Terry's other work. Anyway, it ain't what you do, it's the way that you do it. It was a song by the Specials and the Fun Boy 3. Actually, it was a song from 1938 originally. But that's relevant now. So it's not that you're moving, but the way that you're moving, the way that you should be moving is the way that conduces to absorption. Okay, now both legs. Both legs doing the same. Share the load. So you might move forwards, backwards, you might circle or partly circle. What we're doing is avoiding building up excessive lactic acid, which would then leave the muscles exhausted. So we're just sharing the load. Now, I love you, but I'm going to show it in a funny way by asking you to lower your knees and touch the floor very, very lightly. And you might think, I don't like this kind of love. No more of that, Jim. So we'll lift them up again. Oh, Jim, no more love. I'm afraid there's a bit more love coming, and it's for you touching the floor with one knee very, very lightly. Oh, Jim, no. And then raise that up. And then the same on the other side. Oh, I hate your love. Breathe into it. Raise it up. Okay, knees forwards. Back to your kneeling position. Any blocks you need, please use them. Sit up tall and take deep breaths. Now notice how naturally deep breaths are coming after that. Huh? The stronger the imprint, the impression, the more the samskaras or the patterns in the body-mind are challenged. So as Patanjali says, you need a samskara to release samskaras. Huh? Or as the Tantra says, you need a thorn to remove a thorn. Or as the Buddha says, a skilled carpenter uses a smaller piece of wood to knock out a bigger piece of wood. All of that is a sort of preamble for another strong sensation you're about to experience. Huh? Come forwards onto your hands and knees. So a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine, doesn't it? All I'm going to ask you to do is one thing. Right? Just one thing. It's just one press up. Lower yourself down. Go ahead. Push yourself up. Push yourself up. Oh my God. Okay, we'll have a rest. It didn't go that well for many, but it did all right. Take a breath. Take a kneeling position. Don't worry, I won't tell your friends. I won't tell your friends. One press up. Take a few deep breaths. We'll recover from that. Now it's a bit embarrassing, isn't it? Only being able to do half a press up like that, or only just one. So we do need to be able to tell our friends that we did 2 press ups this morning. So we're going to do the same again. Let's do it together before you think too much. Make sure there's sufficient space for your collarbones. Huh? Breathe easy. So make sure your hands are far away enough. And then lower down. It's called Chaturanga Dandasana. It's not part of classical yoga, but lots of people do it nowadays. Push up. Or not, you know. One more. Come on, let's do it together. Come on, you'll be all right. Push up. And knees forwards and rest. Take a deep breath. Take deep breath. The purpose isn't so much the press up, but the breath that follows the press up. So let those breaths happen now. The breaths that follow the press up. Because we can hear as many talks as we want to hear by various, teachers, whether they be Muji or Arjun Samedo or Alan Watts or anyone else you listen to on the internet who are very wonderful and marvelous, Thich Nhat Hanh, about letting go. But we need help with it because the habit patterns are invisible. We have to expose them, like pressing a Wellington boot into a muddy puddle. It reveals the gases that are held in that puddle only by pressing into it. Similarly with the postures. Extend your legs out when you're ready, including immediately. Give yourself a rub down, energy bath. Make sure it's vigorous. Don't forget things like the soles of the feet, the buttocks, the armpits, etc. The ears, everything. Wrists. So Trulkur is the Tibetan for magical movements. Huh? Now bring your hands behind your head. Make sure there's space behind. Thank you. And then we're going to, so do make sure there's space behind you, actually. Just double check that you're not going to, because we're going to roll back a bit. So, and then roll back. Not too fast. Raise your toes up to the level of your eyeballs. The chances are you haven't done many of these over Christmas, / any of these over Christmas, / any of these for ages and ages before Christmas. So don't worry if you're wobbling. That's all right. This is half boat pose. I love you, so therefore we're going to full boat pose. Come on. You can do it. Full boat. Oh dear. Oh God. When will it end? Now, bend your legs, hug your legs, lift your lower back. Breathe deep. Remember, the purpose of the poses is to release the breath. And the breath being released is flow. Flow is where we let go into the field, because you can only know the field by letting go. Why is that? Because no thought can contain interdependent reality, no matter what that thought is. That's why the Buddha says that views are like a jungle thicket. You can get caught in them very easily. So take deep breaths instead. Instead of getting caught in views and opinions, surrender. Sharanagati in Sanskrit. Surrender, here and now. So move in ways, breathe in ways that help you to surrender, here and now. Jaw soft, eyes soft, brain soft. Okay, good job. Bring yourself up to a standing position. Now, I'm not sure how many belts we've got up here. And, there should be more downstairs if we need them, but there are more belts in the little belt basket that Barbara's got there. Sort of B's in that sentence, belt basket that Barbara's got. Thank you very much. We have a belt basket that's way too small for the belts that we have. It's a bit of a comedy thing at the Buddhist Center. We have a time. Thanks, Barbara. That's very kind. Marvelous. Imagine Barbara would make a marvelous hostess at a party, giving out things, vol au vents perhaps. Tie your belt up in a loop. If you haven't got a belt at home, I bet you've got a dressing gown belt. Oh, you have got a belt, great. Great. Now, what size loop? Well, it depends on you, because we're going to put it on in a minute like a jacket, right? This is surprisingly easy, but surprisingly confusing at the same time. So all you do, just imagine it's your coat. I'm just putting my coat on, I'm not putting a belt on, and then you'll be able to do it. If you think about putting a belt on, you'll get confused, I'm sure. So let's go through. See, Jerry, it's so confusing, but it's not really. Putting your jacket on. I'm just putting my coat on. And then it works. Firstly, a hug. And then let's just imagine we're in a restaurant and someone's helping you put your jacket on. There you go. There you go. Okay. So once it's on, don't do it too tight, but it should be taut enough, but not pushing your seventh cervical vertebrae forward, which is this bone here. So it's just pressing on the lateral margins of the pectoralis, the chest. Make sure, as I say, it's not pressing on the seventh cervical. Oh, love in the room. Yeah. Just like you're helping someone put it. Yeah, got it. Feet hip width apart and facing directly forwards. Make sure your toes aren't turning out like an old-fashioned Bobby policeman from Victorian sort of comic strip idea of a policeman. Spread out your toes. So just to be clear, don't do this. Don't do that. And to be really clear, don't do that either. The line that you want runs through the middle of your feet. Imagine you're standing on parallel lines. They run through the gap between your second and third toe and through the out through the heel. Chest up. Shoulder blades down. Eyes soft. Find the pelvic floor by moving around and being relaxed. Calmness. Excuse me. Calmness conditions connection. Calmness. In other words, if you want to connect to the pelvic floor, the calmer you become, the more that connection can happen. So moving left, moving right, moving forwards, moving backwards, connecting to the pelvic floor. In not in a thought way, but like way beyond thinking. Powerful. If you connect to the pelvic floor, you'll find it as a powerful experience. Huh? The Sanskrit word for power is Shakti. So breathing easy. Obviously, movements can slow down if you want them to, but we've got to be honest about the connection we're having to the pelvic floor. There are four main muscles: iliococcygeus, pubococcygeus, puborectalis, and coccygeus. So connecting to those muscles is a practice of honesty, because sometimes we think, I don't know if you're like this, but I am, oh, that'll do. And then space out somewhere to the future or the past, that'll do. Jim doesn't know whether I'm connecting to the pelvic floor or not. I can think about the past a few. It is obvious when somebody is connected, because there's a sense of awakeness and awareness. And it's to our benefit. Because when we connect to the pelvic floor, we connect to the central channel. And the central channel means that we're not caught up in any particular thing. It's the exact middle of every choice. Some traditions call it Shiva. Raise the arms, just let them float up. Turn the palms, let the arms be soft. Continue to raise up, suck in your tummy. Breathe through your nose, suck in the tummy as much as possible and find the pelvic floor. What we're looking for is just a sense of buoyancy. It's nothing dramatic. It's just, well, I suppose in a way it is dramatic. Just buoyancy. So it's not like a gripping of the pelvic floor. There have been some yoga schools who teach Mula Bandha as a sort of very dynamic action, and there can be problems with doing that. Not always, but there can be. But in traditional yoga, we think of the pelvic floor lift as something on the energy body level. And then it might drift out into the so-called musculoskeletal body. Okay, big circle, hands to your hips. Step your feet apart generously. You might want to adjust your belt if it's pressing into your seventh cervical. It's easy to find the seventh cervical because it sticks out further than the other bones. You want it just underneath that. Okay. Turn your left toes in when you're ready. Right foot and leg on the ball of the foot first, and finish off the turn on the heel. Right? Good. Stretch your arms. Raise your lead arm, which is your right arm. Inhale. Perfect. Exhale. Beautiful. Pelvis is tipping. Good. Some hips are popping. Jaw is soft. Hand rests on the leg. Very good. Expressive breaths. Top arm can be up or down, doesn't matter, or even round. Some people like to hold the thigh. That's fine too. Spontaneity is what we're interested in. So, if your fingers want to wiggle, let them wiggle. If they want to stretch, let them stretch. If you want to come down, it can come down. But breath should flow. Breath should flow. Okay, inhale, come up. And hands on the hips, feet face forwards. Toes, back toes in, front foot and leg out on the ball of the foot first. And then finish off the turn on the heel. And just check that you've ended up with heel to arch alignment and that your back toes have turned in. Then, happy with that, raise your arms up. Lightly tone the tummy, inhale. Exhale. Good. Yeah, that's it. We're going to rest the hand. The two best positions for the lower hand is to rest it on the shin or to rest it on blocks, usually on the little toe side of the foot or on the floor if you've got very long arms. Sometimes we're taught in yoga, some yoga classes, to put our hand like this. I'm going to say no to that. I mean, not that, you can do what you like, obviously, free person, all the rest. But if you experiment with that, you'll find for yourself that this little practice makes your lower back tight. And we've already talked right at the beginning of the class about the lower back and the breath and a general sense of flow, which indicates absorption in the field, which liberates the mind from clinging. Therefore, the mind falls into its true nature. You can't find the mind's true nature. You have to fall into it. So breathing easy, jaw soft. Arm, whatever. Arm up, arm down, up to you. If you need to bend the knee a bit, that's anything. It's fine. But do take deep breaths. Do take deep breaths. Yeah. Good job. Well done, everyone. Inhale. Come on up. Hands on the hips, deep breaths, plural. Feet facing forwards. Standing with a lifted chest like a superhero. Which is a great, it's very, it's not the way we normally stand, is it? Ordering a coffee at the coffee. Well, I'll have a cup and one for my friend. It's very bold, isn't it? But that's good because it challenges the samskaras of being, being a bit British. So our energy, again, you need a samskara to challenge samskaras generally. Huh? So our general samskara of being a bit British in the British winter gets challenged, and therefore loosened. It's not that this is better than that. It's just that this is loosening us from that. Back toes in, left toes in, right foot and leg out on the ball of the foot, finish off the turn on the heel. Heel to arch alignment, double check. Yeah, have a look. Do what you can for the little toe on the back foot. That cute little toe. So shy. Yeah. So the best way to get into the little toe is patience, kshanti, and calmness. So if you're getting bored of extending your little toe out already, you can reflect that, for me, this extending of the little toe is, I'm now on my 33rd year of extending the little toe, and the rest of the yoga, not just that part. But and I haven't got there. It's a beautiful thing to do. I'm happy to do it, still doing it now as I'm talking to you. It's important for several reasons, but mostly so that it expands consciousness everywhere and conditions your mind to meditative calmness. Inhale. Stay in touch with the little toe on the back foot. Bend your knee. Stretch between the legs. Elbow down. Palm up. Good. Arm up. Breathe through your nose. Stretch up and maybe over. It's up to you. You don't have to go over. It's fine to keep the arm straight up. It's fine to bring the hand on the hip. It's fine to play, backwards, forwards, whatever helps. Remember, movement helps to hydrate myofascia. The hydration of myofascia increases its glide. Glide of one is glide of all to a yogin and to a particle physicist and to anyone who's got their wits about them. Parsvakonasana is the pose. You can look up under your armpit if you want. Okay, arm down, palm down, push into the leg, inhale, come up. Hands on the hips, feet face forward, deep breaths. Let's hear them. Yeah. Take a few of those deep breaths. And as they're coming and going, turn your back. As they're coming and going, turn your back toes in. As they're coming and going, front foot and leg out, turn on the ball of the foot, finish off the turn on the heel. Check that your back toes are still turned in. Extend the little toe side of the back foot. There's various ways in which you can do it, but fundamentally calmness. I've instructed before, and I'll instruct again, that the little toe should be treated like Piglet from Winnie the Pooh. And if you know Winnie the Pooh, which I think you do, Piglet is very nervous and timid. And so what do you think helps Piglet to come out from hiding? Kindness and patience. And what do you think makes Piglet scurry under? Impatience, trying, frustration. So this is why I say calmness conditions connection. This is why I say it's very important to focus on the little toe, because you need training, and so do I. Bend your knee, elbow down, palm up, play, any way that works, forwards, backwards, whatever. Stretch up if you're ready. Stretch up and over if you want. Some people feel a little tight because the arm presses into the acromion process, which is part of the shoulder blade. So you can move your shoulder blade more dynamically if you stretch your arm up and then up and over. That's one way. Some people find it loosens the acromion process to do what I call the Kate Bush, honoring her performance on Top of the Pops of Wuthering Heights, which is it's a bit difficult, the microphone and with a belt. So, it might work, it might not. Sorry about that at home with the microphone. Deep breath, soft eyes. Jaw soft as well. Good. Okay, arm down, palm down, push into the leg. Inhale to come up. Feet face forwards, hands on the hips. Let's hear those deep breaths. Let a few of them happen. So surrender and allowing is the skill of the yoga practitioner. Surrender and allowing. The skill of the yoga practitioner. Now we're going to just slip this belt off. It's difficult to get on. Let's see how you can get it off. Good. Very good. Calmness conditions connection, also with taking a belt off. Now, hip joints are here, right? Just articulate. So if you were told to bring your hands onto your hips, some of you have done, that would be here. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about here, the top of the thighs where they articulate with the pelvis. So the thigh bone comes out to a neck and then a head, and then the head comes into the acetabulum, which is a word that used to originally mean a little bowl for vinegar. And that's the dish that your thigh bone sits in. And that you can feel that here. Not here, but here. So being aware of that, we're going to stretch up from here, top of the outer thighs. So raise your arms up, suck in the tummy, breathe through your nose. Good job. So sucking in the tummy, it doesn't matter, how much fatty tissue we have on our tummies. We're talking about the deep belly, drawing in and up through repetition. And we're not talking mechanically either. We're talking about repetition. Now, some people, and I think they're probably less than half of people, have the kind of hair that if you brush it enough, the fibers start going in the same direction. Lots of people don't have that kind of hair, but some people do. So imagine that you're brushing your abdominal fibers repeatedly, and then they start going in the same direction. Now turn in your back toes, front foot and leg out, whole body's turning that way. Whole body's turning that way. Walk your front foot further across the width of the mat away from here. away from me. Lift your back heel, externally rotate it, turn it out. So you internally rotate the thigh and then bring it down again, right? No point lifting the heel if you don't turn it out. So make sure you have, and you can repeat that if you need to. That's good. If you're finding balance difficult, go wider across the width of the mat. One can go, and probably should go, as wide as hip width. Not wider than that, but up to. Tone the tummy, release the roots of the neck. Let your eyes reflect how soft our attitude is. It's not spaced out, it's soft, it's like intimate, it's loving, it's gentle, it's sensitive. Someone who's being sensitive to someone else isn't spaced out, are they? They're gentle. Inhale, raise up from your hip joints. Exhale, bend your front knee. Your front knee. Now, principally this pose orbits around what's going on in the back leg, especially the hip flexors, including the psoas, which we've mentioned many times. So look for a sensation of stretch on the back leg from your inner groin across the lateral pubis and play with that. Move it, tune it in, play with it. So repeated movements of the back foot, the back leg, the pelvis can help us to get into this stretch of the inner groin. Good job, everyone. Inhale to come up. Turn back to the front. Big circle with your arms, hands on your hips, level your feet up, and take deep breaths. Take deep breaths. Take a few. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Brain soft. Take a few. Similarly, from the hip joints. So we want to see if we can, at least imagine we can feel that this stretch is starting there as we raise the arms up. Light tone of the tummy will bring some buoyancy to the pelvic floor. That's not the same as you might have heard some yoga teachers say, tuck the tailbone under. That's too local. It doesn't work. It makes your lower back tight. But what is along the same lines, but better in terms of flow, is just to feel the pelvic floor as being buoyant. That will keep the conversation between the tailbone and the pubic bone going. Back toes in, front foot and leg out. Whole body's turning that way. Don't forget to walk your front foot further across the width of your mat. Lift your back heel, externally rotate it, turn it out and bring it down. You can do it more than once. So do it until you feel more balanced. Well done. And keep turning and turning and turning. Lightly tone the tummy. Focus on the inner groin of the back leg as you inhale, raise up from your hip joints. Exhale, bend your front knee. Breathe through your nose. Keep the tummy lightly toned. It's still useful to have a sense of the pelvic floor. Not that you have to be doing anything or not doing anything, but simply to have a sense of it. In yoga, we say listening naturally is response. They're the same thing. Listening is responding. So you only have to be aware, and then response is natural. Keep breathing, natural, free, honest. Back of the thigh up towards the ceiling of the front leg, back of the thigh up. Great. Inhale. Come on up with the pelvic floor in your awareness. Turn back to the front, hands on your hips, breathe through your nose. Take some deep breaths. Take some deep breaths. Now, for the next pose, we might have to do a couple of adjustments. So let's walk the feet towards each other, because many people will need bricks, but also you might need to jostle your mats a little bit, because we are going to forward fold. And if you forward fold and someone's quite close to you, you may end up with your nose pressed against someone's buttocks, and that probably isn't okay. So also, we want to make sure that the spine from the pubis to the chest is open. So blocks are often useful so that we can keep this openness, we can keep the goddess channel open. You can also lower the blocks. If your goddess channel stays open, however low you go, that's fine. But if you start, I'm not even going to demonstrate it because it's not a good thing to do, but if you start bending over your navel, come up higher. So start with more blocks, rather than less. Let's start with at least 2 blocks, or brick blocks work well as well. If you're not sure, start with the blocks on their highest setting, like I've got mine here. Breathing easy. Good. You can use cork, or these blocks are fine. Turn your toes in, hands on the hips. At home, if you don't have blocks, you can stack up books or whatever you've got. Back in the old days, you know, when we were locked down, sorry to mention it, remember that? Oosh. Anyway, I did all the classes were on Zoom, every single one. And so I was giving instructions using things from my kitchen. Some of you might have come to those classes, buckets and whatever. So you can use anything at home, it's fine. Inhale, lift up from your inner groins, inhale. Exhale, fold over the top of the front thighs, hinge from the hip joints, the thighs rise up, your hands are on the bricks. Great opportunity to play. Some people, including mythological creatures like Jim Taran, like to play by doing wheelies with their feet. Huh? I like to do a wheelie with my feet. Some people like that, but you know, it ain't what you do, it's the way that you do it. Again, thank you, Terry Hall. So, you know, what we're trying to do is get balance, isn't it? When I was 17, I got my first tattoo. I shouldn't have done it really because I was 17, but they did. And it was a yin yang, huh? Because I thought, well, you know, balance. I'll never get bored of that. If the pelvis releases through the release of the hamstrings, which happens through time, breath, and intelligent tone on the quads, then nothing wrong with letting the spine go with the pelvis. But if the pelvis isn't moving and you start trying to bring your head down, that's not right. It's not useful. We must keep the goddess channel open. So the goddess channel is known as the Madhya Nadi, also the Sushumna, also the Avadutta. And it's just a channel that you can imagine running along in front of the spinal column. It doesn't run through it, but in front of it, immediately in front of it. And you want to keep that column open. Then actions arise from, we can say they are from Shakti, they are an expression of Shakti because the mind isn't colored. The word lesha in Sanskrit means that the mind is colored, biased in some way. So play, breathe, be empty of grasping, of parigraha. Keep the goddess channel open. Very tempting to think of progress in yoga as more flexibility or head closer to the floor, but progress is defined by absorption. Full stop. That and only that. And we're going to come up the way we went down. So use your blocks. Walk your feet a little closer to each other and work up your blocks as high as you can. I like to play with the feet in various ways on my way up. And then you get to the very highest point you can before coming up, drawing down from the sitting bones to the heels, and finally walking your feet towards each other. And you might have a little kick out. A little bit of breath. A little kick out, a bit of breath. Okay, and then bring your feet together. Or close, as close as you can comfortably. Obviously, if your thighs meet before your feet, then it wouldn't be sensible to bring your feet together. You can have them apart. Arms by your sides. Good job. Breathe through your nose. Jaw soft. Temples soft. It's probably particular to me, but when I was a kid, I used to love watching a program called Monkey on the television. He had a little pink cloud that used to fly on. It's marvelous. And there was a Buddhist monk they called Tripitaka, which should be Tripitaka, but anyway, doesn't matter. And that monk, that Buddhist monk, was supposed to be a man, but was clearly a woman anyway. Lots of marvelous things. And put this band on Monkey, who was very, very naughty monkey god, around his head like that. And when he was naughty, Tripitaka would do a little mantra like that, and it would get really tight on Monkey's head, and he'd have to behave himself. So anyway, it's a long story for a short thing. Imagine that you've got a little band on your head and it's releasing, huh? Because Tripitaka isn't cross with you. Okay. So just, that sort of softness of the temples, that sort of release, indicates an absence of gripping, grasping, grabbing, the three gurus. Notice if you have, or if there is within the body, a tendency for the chest to drift or the pelvis to drift. Let it happen. Just let it happen. And once it finds where its sort of subcurrents are, then it's able to release them. But at first you have to expose those subcurrents. Okay, raise up your right heel. And you can move the leg intuitively. What we essentially want to do is loosen up the leg, but also feel into the standing leg because we're going to be balancing. So I like to move backwards and forwards and so on. It's enough to do the pose like this. You could also do it like this. Some yoga teachers say never touch your foot to your knee. I don't. And then perhaps even up to the top of the leg, all fine. Hands to the heart. Moving in microphones you might have. Hands to the heart. So we're told in a book that came about 100, when did it come? 200 years after Alexander the Great, there was another Greek that traveled the world called Strabo, who wrote a book called Geographica, which is sort of his analysis of the world. And he references Alexander the Great having seen gymnosophists standing on one leg, holding a stick 1 cubit in length above their head out in the daytime sun all day long. They'd swap legs when they got tired, but they'd keep standing out. So that's the first mention that we have in texts of tree pose. That's 2,150 years ago. Okay, release your hands. Why they did it, you can find out in the third of my 4 books, which none of which have been published. Okay, I haven't tried. Take a few breaths, jaw soft. So one day, those books will be available to you, and make sure you go to the third one if you want to find out about the gymnosophists and other things. That's the biggest book. That's the really big one. Okay, other leg up when you're ready. Now, you might be thinking, okay, I can't wait for your book to get published. Or you might be thinking, I'm a publisher, I'll publish it for you. Great, we'll talk after. But you might be thinking, what is a gymnosophist? Well, I'm afraid to say we're not going to practice like gymnosophists, because gymnosophist, or is it gymnosophist? My ancient Greek is not what it should be. Means in Greek, a naked philosopher. So that part of tree pose, we're not doing. Okay. We sometimes, but we're not doing it today, do imagine we're holding a stick 1 cubit in length and hold it above our head. We're not going to do that today, but we might do next time, next week. Breathing through your nose. Okay, that closing door indicates it's time for us to bring ourselves down. Some of you came down with that sound, amazingly. Shake out a little bit, come straight into Adho Mukha Svanasana. That is to say, downward facing dog. You're going to have your heads all facing towards this way. Yeah, this way, this way. At home, you have your head facing anywhere you like. And lift up into down face dog. Well done. Do check your hands. Imagine that I was walking around the room. You don't have to imagine. I am walking around the room. Checking that your hands are spread, really well spread. Great tip from Francis there. If you do slip on your mat, you can use your belt underneath the heels of your hands. That helps to stop you slipping if you are slipping. Push backwards so your pelvis actually wants to come. Not your hands. No, they stay there. Just the pelvis this way. So the hands have got to stay where they are. It's quite hard, isn't it? Well done. Actually, bring this one a little further forward so it's level. That's it. And breathe easy. The big problem is the hamstrings, isn't it? That's the thing that. So bend your knees and extend your knees. Just play with that. So try bending one knee at a time, and just loosening off. And then gradually, as you loosen off, experiment with bringing the whole thing backwards, the whole pelvis backwards. What you want to do is get through the lower back. It takes time to keep things loose and breath centered. Good. The heels go backwards, not down, but they definitely go backwards, and that sort of brings them down. As the heels go backwards, the inner groins open up. As the heels go backwards, the inner groins open up. Breathing easy, jaw soft, brain soft, throat soft. It's better than that. Good, well done, gang. Come down nice and easy to your regular kneeling position. And take breath. Take breath. Jaw soft, eyes soft, brain soft. Let the buttocks relax, let the eyes relax, let the brain relax. Let the shoulders relax. We're going to take the knees a little way apart. Right? Toes are touching but not overlapping. The skill here is to only come forwards as you feel a release here at the top of the thighs. So you come forward slowly. And if you feel that release here, that will keep you anchored so that you won't feel like you're falling forwards. So you have to go slowly. And that melting is a melting of the body and the mind. That means that you hardly need any support at first in front of you because you're not falling forward. The anchor stays back here, the top of the thighs. Breath comes and goes. Eyes stay soft. And the discipline is to not rush ahead, but to listen to the melting of the top of the thighs. Even if the head does come to the floor, which it doesn't have to, often we bring it down a little prematurely too. Even if it does come down, focus on the release at the back, at the top of the thighs still. It's connected to your breath. Okay. Coming up the way you went down, nice and slow. till you're all the way back up. Now we're possibly going to take a pose called Siddhasana. It depends on whether that's accessible for you. If not, you can sit in any comfortable seated position. Now, a cork block is the best thing to sit on. I haven't got one here, so if you don't have one at home, you can just use regular blocks, but the narrow end facing forwards. So that's what I'll do here. But a cork block otherwise is very good if you've got one. And you're facing this way in the room, if you're in the room. And in Siddhasana, the heels are lined up with each other and the midline of the body. With each other and the midline of the body. You can also use a blanket if the knees feel like they need a bit of extra support. Very simply placed like that underneath. So the heels are lined up with each other and the midline of the body. If that's not a comfortable position for you to sit in, you can sit in any comfortable position where you can sit upright. Right? But do sit upright. So lined up with each other, the heels and the midline. So lined up. Yeah. And just sit up tall, make sure you're warm enough. Breathe through your nose. So just we're going to notice the breath at first because we're going to do a little tantric / hatha practice. I'm not going to talk about what the differences are between tantra and hatha yoga now, another time. But first you need to feel your breath. We need to also imagine 3 channels, project and imagine 3 channels into the body. In this visualization, we imagine 2 of the channels connect to 2 of the nostrils, 1 channel to the left, 1 to the right. And that those channels inside the body come from the nostril up, hit the top of the head, and then come down the sides, both do the same, of the central channel and co-terminate at the pelvic floor. And then there's a central channel that just goes straight up. So 2 channels, central channel. That's the first thing. Just visualize those, imagine those. Some of you might have heard of vinyasa. You probably have, because it's the most popular form of yoga at the moment. It didn't used to be, and it's just a phase, perhaps. But vinyasa comes from the word nyasa, to place, including structures on the body, like channels. Now, when we breathe in a moment and practice these little practices, we're going to imagine green light. And we're going to tell ourselves that that green light is purifying. It's going to be moving through the channels. It's always green. When it's in the channels, it's green. When it comes in, it's green. But when it comes out, it will come out as different colors depending which nostril it's coming out of. So the first practice we're going to do is breathing in green light through the left channel, through the left nostril, down to the pelvic floor. Imagine it moving over. So I'll mirror it for you. Imagine it moving over and coming out, that green light. And it comes out through the right nostril as blue light or blue smoke. Remember, the green light is purifying, and we tell ourselves that we're purifying obstacles and obscurations to do with the past during this practice. Okay, so let's do it. It's going to be green light coming in through the left nostril. So when you're ready, hold your breath at the pelvic floor, shift the green light over, comes up through the opposite channel and out as blue light or blue smoke. We're going to do it 3 times, so it'll be in your own time. Just keep it going for 3 rounds. Purifying green light, blue smoke as it comes out, or blue light. Purifying obstacles and obscurations to do with the past. When you've done 3, you're going to reverse the flow. Comes in, the green light through the other nostril, across, comes out as pink light or pink smoke. Obscurations and obstacles to do with the future. So in your own time, 3 rounds of that. Green light, always green. It's purifying the channels. Comes out as pink light or pink smoke. Purifying obstacles to do with the future. The final round will probably be obvious to us that we'll be breathing in through both channels simultaneously. That energy co-terminates. This is one of the meanings of the word hatha, co-terminating energies of the sun and moon at the pelvic floor, and then pushing that green light up through the central channel. And it comes out of the crown of your head like black smoke or soot. It's completely environmentally friendly. It dissolves without any trace in the atmosphere, but it's purifying the central channel. Obstacles and obscurations to do with the present. Same thing, 3 rounds. Co-terminating as you hold your breath before sending it up through the central channel. When you've completed 3 rounds, just rest in the normal breath. The Tibetans call it resting in Rigpa. Which they sometimes describe as non-duality. Okay, we're going to lay down on our backs for an extended Shavasana of precisely 63 seconds. It won't start until you've laid down though, so don't rush. Put on your socks and so on. And if you're thinking, God, I want to sit in Rigpa for longer, there's a meditation starting at 11 that's open to the general public. It's run by a very beautiful Buddhist practitioner, Sri Pada. So you can come and sit in Rigpa in just half an hour in this very room if you want. Anyway, in the meantime, we're going to lay on our backs. With the soles of the feet on the floor. Hands a good distance away from the body, shoulder blades scooted under. If your head tips back, feel free to put some support underneath your head. Total release of the arms, of the legs, of the head, of the pelvis, and of the ribs. Total, complete release. When you're ready, feel into the body like it was something new. You might wiggle your toes, for example, or move your fingers, or stretch out an arm or a leg. Organic, natural, investigative movements. These movements turn into natural stretches. And when you feel ready after taking some really enjoyable, I hope, natural stretches, then you can bend your legs and place the soles of the feet onto the floor. Scoot the buttocks under, just as we did at the beginning of the class. Scoot the buttocks under. And take a deep breath. And totally release the lower back into the breath. When you're ready, roll onto your side facing, if you're in the room here live, as it were, away from the shrine. At home, if you're watching on Zoom, you can lay on your left side. Knees drawn up, tummy soft, eyes soft, brain soft, throat soft. Everything that can be soft is soft. When you feel ready to roll over, then roll over again. Lay comfortably on your other side. Once more with the knees drawn up. And actually, if you draw the knees up quite well, you'll find your tummy has a certain softness. And if you rest in that softness, if you pay attention to that softness, that will have a deeply restorative effect. Bring yourself around by letting a bit of light in. You might rub your eyes. You might stretch out an arm or a leg. Anything that's sort of natural. And when you feel ready to come up, bring yourself up. Nice and easy from the side, using your arms to assist your ascent. And we're going to face towards this bloody lovely picture of the Buddha. And those that want, if you agree with the following sentence, then you can agree in Sanskrit. Now, how you agree in Sanskrit is to say Om. Om basically means I agree, I consent, I agree to that, or I agree with that. So listen to the sentence. I'm going to Om at the end because I know I'm going to agree with it because I know what it is. And if you agree with it, you can also say Om as well. May the merit gained in our acting thus go to the alleviation of the suffering of absolutely all beings. Om. Thanks very much for coming. Happy New Year. I really appreciate it. Oh, yes, please, more. Thank you very much. Enjoy that. Let's carry that on all year, please. And cheering as well. Thank you. Yeah, exactly. Free cheers. So thank you so much for coming. Tomorrow there's a workshop that I'm running between 1:30 and 4:30 at Space Studios, the arch rival of the Buddhist Center, of course. But you know, I've got my finger in both pies. So do come to that if you want. Tomorrow evening is the beginning of a one-year course with my partner Kadeen on the Mahavidya, the Dasha Mahavidya, which are the 10 tantric deities that culminated, of female deities, culminated in the 16th century, blah, blah, blah. You don't want to hear it from me, you want to hear it from her. It's a year-long course. It's every Sunday evening. You can do it on Zoom or in real life. If you're interested in that, you can text me or just text me. My number's on the internet. You just put my name into the internet. My phone number's there. So that's it. So if you're interested in that course, that's tomorrow night. I'm on it again for the 5th year running. I love it. Best course ever. Happy New Year. That's the way it is, isn't it? It's the same with pure consciousness. Never know what you're missing until you're back.
I love that. thing of going through the thicket of the forest.
Yeah, that's directly from the Pali Canon from the Buddha. Thoughts are like a thicket, a jungle thicket. And we know it's true. Thank you, sister.
You need to come and see us.
I know, I've never seen your place. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
I see pictures of it and I will invite me soon.
What are you doing next Sunday?
Good question. I don't know yet, but text me that invitation. What are you doing next Sunday?
Next Sunday, 2:30,
Yeah.
we have Kirtan, Cacao and Sound Bar.
Sounds fantastic. I'll check in with the gang.
Dave, who was in front of me, he's my guitar teacher and harmonium teacher. And
Fantastic.
we've been doing the Kirtan
Musical
together,
director.
and it's kind of coming.
Fantastic.
Really coming
Sounds
in.
amazing. I'd love to. I'll check
And
in.
Lewis Wave Crest. I don't know if you know Lewis Wave Crest.
Oh, no,
He
Lewis,
does-
yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, he's
Nice to
going
see
to
you.
do them.
Yeah, he's great. He's a great. I know him well. Yeah, he's great percussionist.
He's lovely.
Yeah, and he's done some tabla training with Mark, who's my
Oh,
tabla teacher.
Oh, really? You do
Fantastic.
tabla now?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Well,
Not very
bring
well.
your tabla.
I should, shouldn't I? In fact, that's tempting. Hello, Happy New Year.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. How are you? Good. Happy and well.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, good.
Good.
It was good. See a nice time of your son's wedding in Indonesia as well.
Amazing.
I bet.
Uh, It was we're in Jakarta, so it's in the capital of Java, and that was life changing. It was absolutely beautiful. In loads of tantric rituals, and I mean, it was a Muslim wedding, but Java used to be.
They live there.
Yeah, Eli, my son, lives with us, but his partner is Indonesian, so it was a big Indonesian wedding.
Wow.
250 people. And,
Brilliant.
yeah, and we were all dressed up in Indonesian clothes.
Gorgeous.
It was amazing, and lots of rituals.
Visual spectacle as well. Though.
It was a visual spectacle and loads of tears because it was so beautiful.
Oh, gorgeous.
Yeah, it was lovely.
Oh, thrilling.
Yeah,
So, what's the meditation at now?
you can just go downstairs and pay a donation. It's in here now, and anyone can join. It's with Sri Pada, who's just a beautiful woman. And I think it's an hour and a half. Maybe. Thank you. Lovely to meet you.
And I'm meeting a friend at 11:30.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's good to know that. Is that every Saturday?
Every Saturday, yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, and
Okay.
it's fantastic.
Okay.
I mean, I sometimes stay to it when I can.
Yeah.
And Norma helps to set up, she's a marvellous person.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, do come.
And what are you doing tomorrow at Space?
Space 1:30 to 4:30. I'm doing it's called a Restore and Reset. It's yoga, meditation, pranayama. Yeah,
Oh, I could do that.
Yeah.
How do I book it?
through Space. So they've got a website.
Directly through Space.
Yeah.
That's the sort of churchy thing on
That's exactly it.
I know.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Okay, yes, nice place.
Yeah.
Space.
Yeah, can't wait to see you.
See you, so I can book it directly
Through them, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
But Happy New Year. Lovely to see you. See you. Thanks, gang. Thank you for helping set up the meditation. Very grateful.
How are you?
All right, how are you? Good. Happy New Year. Yeah, back in.